Cockney red cards, Bruno screamers, and 1 foot further in the Champions League. There's plenty to talk about after that one, but Newcastle United have got the job done, and the instant reaction is coming up, Newcastle fans. So do us a favour and make sure you stick around. Europe again, Europe again, Europe again. Ole, ole. Newcastle United have got the job done. That's all I'm bothered about. Look, I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I am not. I've just spoken to some fans, which will be on a different video. They're not getting ahead of themselves. There's still 6 points to play for, and this is going to flip-flop like a flippy flop in the sunshine all the way to the last game, in my opinion. But we were level on points with Chelsea, and we simply had to win the football match. Worst case scenario, not lose. And we went the best we possibly could. Clean sheet, 2 up on the goal difference, which could be crucial. We got over the line. But look, it was massively a game of 2 halves. First half, exactly as we expected. Lots to talk about in that one. Second half, who had 10 men? God, you could argue maybe we did. But we got over the line and we stayed disciplined and we stayed hard. Before I get into the match, I just want to give a massive shout out to every single fan in that stadium. There are just, and anyone watching this who was here today might agree with me on this, there are just some days when the crowd is just on a different level. And it was a 12 o'clock kickoff. And even for me, getting out of bed at the time I did and coming over at 10 o'clock, it was a lot. But that didn't stop us today. Yes, people had drinks earlier, but we were just with the players from the first whistle to the last. And not every match does the opposition get booed when they touch the ball. Do we scream when there's a sliding tackle or scream at the referee when something doesn't go in our favour? Today was one of them days, and that, I don't care what any fan watching this video says, helps get us over the line. So let's talk about the match. First half, I thought we were good. We really got at them. Chelsea was surprised. And the formation that Eddie Howe played, I was a little bit worried. I think every Newcastle fan was a little bit worried, but I wasn't worried by full time. And we'll talk about the second half in a little bit, but I just wanted to see how it progressed. I'm a tactical buffon. I'm a geek. I'm a loser, if you want to call me that, for loving to watch tactics pan out. And I was curious, with 5 at the back with Murphy as a wing-back, how that was going to play out. But quite quickly, I understood what Eddie Howe was trying, with a couple of surprises in there. I thought Cole Palmer could not get things started because one of our 3 centre-backs constantly pushed out on him on top of Bruno and Tonali. So that worked almost as a midfield 3. I thought Tino Livramento was used much further forward, and at times he looked like a striker. He overloaded their forward line with Dan Burns slotting in at left back, and that was a bit of a weird masterstroke that I didn't expect because Chelsea defenders did not know their arse from their elbow. And what I talked about on my preview was Moises Caicedo playing it right back. You keep him at right back and don't let him in drop in midfield, and Enzo Fernandez will stay far away from our goal as possible, and he has been in pretty good form recently. Enzo Fernandez did very, very little today. He didn't create very much, he didn't do very much, and that helped us because he has been really making things happen for them. So you take Cole Palmer out the game, you take Enzo Fernandez out the game, and you've got 1 foot in winning it. And I thought we were really good. We started well, and of course, if there is one thing you want in a football match, it's an early goal. A lovely, delicately crossed ball from the right, and Tonali, who built that up from the press. And our press was really good today. And I said, again, I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but some of the things I argued in my pre-match preview were that Chelsea's ball-playing centre-backs do not like playing the ball. That's where there's an imbalance in this Chelsea team. Sandro gobbled up their possession. He played it on. He kept on moving into the box, and he was there to tap it in. And that is the start that we all dreamt of. And suddenly the crowd go up a notch. And we played on that, and we didn't create too many chances. I thought we got in good areas. I thought Alexander Isak, we'll talk about individual players, is not at the races. And I don't want to say that. I don't want to talk negative of Alexander Isak. He is playing through something right now, and that was my conspiracy theory, if you like. But that is something that I'm going to stick with. He's not running the channels as much. He's not bringing other people into play as much. But again, he's carrying us. I don't think Eddie Howe wants a Wilson or a Sula leading the line in these 3 crucial matches. So he didn't really make much happen. We had a couple of half chances. We had a couple of decent balls in the box. Dan Burn almost buries it with a really good chance from a header, if I'm being totally honest. And Chelsea never really got going. Their biggest threat for me was Pedro Neto, especially in the second half. I really like him. I wish Newcastle had gone after him if we'd actually been able to spend money when we were linked last summer. And he was giving Livramento problems, but he looked the biggest threat. And of course, then there's the red card. Was it a red card? Well, for me, it definitely was. I've watched it back at half-time. Sometimes, and I'm not saying this is a rule, players make it easy for the referee in VAR by having a look. As soon as he goes before putting the elbow in, that changes a referee's mindset completely, because the referee instantly thinks that he's deliberately put his elbow in, which, to be honest, that's what it means. And I thought it was, and that was crucial. And we go in at half-time, we huff and puff in that 6 minutes of added on time to try and get another one. And we did. We plucked and we plucked and we plucked. I thought Harvey Barnes looked bright. I thought Anthony Gordon looked every bit the player that we wanted Anthony Gordon. Look, I wanted him back in the team to stretch Caicedo. I thought he was doing that. He just never maybe saw enough of the ball. I thought Jacob Murphy in the first half from wing-back. Look, Jacob Murphy is getting so many critics at times when he doesn't have the greatest 10 out of 10 match, because it's Jacob Murphy and he doesn't have that fancy title. You ask any attacking winger, Mbeumo, Salah, go down the list of the best in the league, whether they want to play at wing back, and 90% of them will say no. Hey, let's. Hey, up the bags, up the bags. You ask any winger whether they want to play at full back, wing back, and they will say not a chance in hell. Jacob Murphy today, I thought he must have worked on that all week, and the fact he was so adaptable to move, then not move, then move, then not move, and play the ball forward when the time was right and bring central midfielders into play. I thought he was pretty steady. He didn't pull up any trees from a defensive point of view. I don't think Jacob Murphy's the best in the air, but he ushered their players. Madueke barely got a kick. And I thought, we're going in half-time, right? Let's push on this second half and let's get more goals. So the second half comes, and I don't think the second half was what any of us expected. Look, I think, this is going to sound really weird, that if you are going to get a player sent off, Chelsea will have been clapping their hands that it was their forward, because it doesn't change much from a midfield number and a defensive number point of view at all. Yes, they don't have a striker, they don't have an outlet, but with the likes of Cole Palmer and Neto, and the fact that Chelsea play so wide with their wingers, they do still have outlets. And I think we're all a bit surprised. I think Eddie Howe must have told the lads to just drill in and stay disciplined and try and hit Chelsea on the counter. But I think for large spells of that second half, it didn't necessarily work. I don't think it did. And you know, if you just walked into St James's at half-time, you might have thought Newcastle were the ones down to 10 men. You've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's what you might have done. And it was frustrating to watch at times. And I thought a couple of Eddie Howe substitutions I didn't necessarily agree with. I thought Harvey Barnes looked like he totally ran out of steam. His decision-making, his pressing, he was played through at one point. He totally let the ball get away from his feet. I thought Anthony Gordon might have offered a bit more legs after playing so little football after his injury and his red card recently. But look, we dug in. I thought Lewis Miley came onto the pitch and really, really offered that calmness. And my God, we forget that he's only a kid and he's barely played any football. He didn't look out of place at all. I think Eddie Howe's maybe got a decision there to make with Lewis Miley, whether he brings him in for more matches. Reece James, I thought Chelsea's masterstroke in the second half. I really rate Reece James. He came in at right back. That pushed Caicedo into midfield. And I said on my preview, Caicedo is one of the best midfielders this season in that position, that defensive area. That offered Chelsea something else. Reece James is very good defensive and he kept Harvey Barnes relatively quiet. But we did drop off a little bit. Isak really ran out of steam, but I thought he was quiet for most of the match. But we kept on huffing and puffing. And to be honest, there was always a ball between the lines there. The likes of Miley and Bruno were trying to pull it, but there just wasn't that final pass to get over the line. But we pushed and we pushed and we dug in defensive. I thought Dan Burn, absolutely brilliant. Literally, he deserved his England call-up this season. Is he Newcastle's player of the season? I think without a shadow of a doubt. He's really putting himself amongst that conversation for one of the best centre-backs in the league this season, especially if we finish in these Champions League places. I've already mentioned Jacob Murphy. I thought Livramento bombing forward at every opportunity, but also offering that cover as much as possible against a really good Pedro Neto was good. Bruno today, Tonali, I thought Tonali started the game really well, obviously with his goal, but he did quieten down a little bit. Bruno really pulled the strings. And then, of course, when you are biting every single nail in the stands, Bruno pulls out what I think is arguably his best goal for Newcastle since he signed for us. Top corner, and Bruno is well known for spooning shots and not being very good at striking a football. Lovely. Sanchez in the goal had absolutely no chance. And then from there, just as the announced injury time, we can all take a breath and get over that line. But yeah, I think the second half was really difficult watching for Newcastle fans with only a 1-0 lead. We wanted to push on and get a second, but I thought Eddie Howe realised that Chelsea might bring more bodies on, and I just think he tried to hit them on the press, which could have been risky, but I don't think Nick Pope was too troubled. There was just a couple of cagey moments. Honourable shout out for me, I've already mentioned Dan Burn. Jacob Murphy, without a doubt, coming in that wing-back position and doing such a solid job to get a clean sheet. We weren't caught out down his side too often, and he doesn't play there very often. I thought Harvey Barnes got us up the pitch at every opportunity and just ran out of steam. Alexander Isak is not fit. I've already talked about him. And without Joe Linton, Sven Botman coming in, by the way, I just want to mention him. The 5 at the back, someone pushing onto Cole Palmer. Not only did it work, but Sven Botman just reminded me what an absolutely brilliant, classy centre-back he is. And he's going to be crucial in this run-in. Look, we've got over the line. We are ahead of Chelsea now. Aston Villa won yesterday, which made this win even bigger. Arsenal away, I am going down by bloody flights to Dublin, then Luton. You name it, I will be there at the Emirates to watch us hopefully get over the line there. Would I take a draw at Arsenal and win against Everton? 100%. Do I think we can go down to Arsenal and win? Without a doubt. We get back in, we refocus, we refresh, we go again. But that win today was absolutely massive, and I'm going to finish by dedicating this performance to the Chelsea fans who stormed through the streets of Newcastle saying no noise from the Chelsea boys, because I tell you what, your away end was pretty quiet for most of that match, and you've got a long journey back down to London. Eddie Howe's Mags have got the job done, even if it wasn't always pretty, and on to Arsenal we go. Full focus, full send, and I believe we can do this. Thank you very much for watching, Newcastle fans. Get Black and White Banter across all socials. Get us, whack that like, drop us a little comment and give us your thoughts, and keep the faith. Hoya, lads!